Okay. Oh no. Of Herlock Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning? He's far from it. Ah, yes. First of all, we must ask ourselves on what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. I can speak this morning, I swear. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes. What brought you to this shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, in an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular point in time? Yes, what brought you to this shop in the first place? It certainly is a flyer for Mr. Windibank's shop. Let's see. Windibank wants you! Pawnbroker's assistant required. It's an eye-catching advertisement, that's for sure. I've seen the same flyer up here inside the shop, I think. Perhaps Mr. Windibank is always in need of more staff? So, Mr. Benedict came here to apply for a job? That's just too hard to believe. There's a picture. Oh. Look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, Gina Lestrade. Height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. There's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although, if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of this shop have been written down here too. Windibank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, April 15th. Which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? That's a proper English gentleman's cane, isn't it? Look at the beautifully polished brass on the handle. Yes, but Mr. Sholmes is right. It's not the sort of handle you usually see on a cane. Perhaps it's the latest London fashion. I mean, that's just guesswork, of course. Perhaps you could adopt a cane, Mr. Naruhodo? It might rather suit you. I have a feeling it might argue with the sword around my waist. That silk top hat is whiter than white. Only an English gentleman could hope to carry off something so bright. But it looks so incongruous with the black overcoat, don't you think? Tall hat is tall. It is very tall. Perhaps it is the latest London fashion. How about it, Mr. Naruhodo? I think you'd look very fetching in a white top hat. Well, you know, I think it might look rather incongruous with my black university uniform, so... Oh, wait. Sir, this is a Wendy's. Almost. It is almost a Wendy's. Oh, right. The info about, a little scribbled note about Gina Lestrade. And he sketched a little picture of her. And also he was looking for a job, apparently. We will take that. Take that! Yes. What brought you to this shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear that the writing and sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket, Miss Lestrade, and to Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery here. Ah! You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibank's pawnbrokery, and today, the redemption deadline of that overcoat. So, you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwittingly clutch to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot! I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, missing ferrule. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clacking sound on the pavement? Yes, exactly. And Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing on this cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane that Mr. Benedict would rather we don't know. Fly me to the moon.
Take that!
Take that again! The contradiction of which I speak of is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggert Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet, in a most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG. Benedict. Yeah, they completely got him. Who knew? A contradiction indeed. Would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't... You said before that you had that cane for years. So don't try to tell us you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. Did he just rip his coat? You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle which you evidently would like to conceal is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Let's consider the bare bones of what happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. And now a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name and claiming that the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove that the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Oh! The seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. Look! So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. But now I think it was probably the sound of this seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So, how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought.
Take that!
Take that! He's a Benedict Cumberbatch wannabe. That's what he is. The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so badly lied... Plowing through 5 hours in. Let's go! When you so badly lied about your name and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. This catalog of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windibank. Ah! But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the detail of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage? Have you forgotten that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place, how could I possibly have known the relevant details? N'est-ce pas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. And your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawned property of another. The method is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes. No more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that this mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know that word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article, whether it was yours or not. So, the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword somehow?
Take that!
Council notices could include all sorts of information about local affairs. They're certainly not limited to... So, there's an undeniable possibility that the watchword was sent out to everyone in the neighborhood. Are you quite concentrating? You've identified exactly what I did originally. Oh, yes, I have, sorry. Well, I do understand, as inimitable as I am, people do like to try. Water sucks? Oh, I can't suck that bad. But you won't make a great detective like that. Nor even a great detective's assistant. An assistant's assistant, then? Alright, I'll think- oh no. What's this? Hecky heck. I did. I hecked up. Look at this, Mrs. Zato. It appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must make a note of the watchwords his customer gives him, right? And an alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear. I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see. It's a shame that somebody should see that note. Am I right?
Take that!
The method is revealed by the notelet. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword and notes it down. The response uttered on a notelet he has to hand. Then he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. Water is good. Water is great. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword as his common practice, you observed him writing the word professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Hey! Which brings us to, at last, the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets. According to Mr. Windibank, isn't even worth a penny. And yet, this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already... The plot thickens. The plot chickens! We already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we? Really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. So, look at all the little bumps on the disc. They're so tiny. Yes, the protrusions are called pins, and they pluck the teeth of the comb to make notes. And just on the edge, there's a small amount of blood. Yes, the blood of the mysterious Mr. Eggert Benedict. When Miss Lestrade tried to grab the disc from him, the pin scratched his fingers. Like when you're grating some daikon radish and accidentally catch your finger. How do you make that connection? But okay. Ouch, just thinking about it hurts. It puts me off eating radish. Although radishes and daikons are so good. They are delicious.
Take that!
Take that! You see this music box disc? It tells us all we need to know. What's that on the back? It reads, for McGilded. Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact, he was precisely the right size for that overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Eggert Benedict. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. Ah! Take that, Mr. Benedict Cumberbitch. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Susato. Well, according to what Mr. Winterbank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is April 15th, so 2 months ago today would have been February 15th, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, February 15th is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose, however. What? I must insist you hand over the music box disc now. Well, that certainly is more incriminating evidence for sure. Just to, pull a gun on us. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. Excuse me? What did I do? None of the fuck. Eggs Benedict is just, he's gone unhinged. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. You'll put him in a box? This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Why does everybody have a gun? Mr. Winterbank. This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers if that were to happen. I should have to take my own life. Excuse me, sir. No, you should not. Mr. Winterbank, no! Alright, that's enough. Inspector Gregson! Oh, thank God he's here. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So we got here as fast as we could. Now what's all this about, eh? Susie with a gun. Gun suplex? Oh God. Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. Right. Ah, yes, it's Gregson with his taters. You lot have got some splaining to do, I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Petty? Mr. Windibank very nearly met with his end. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with its end if I don't get to the bottom of the case I'm supposed to be working on. What? What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. Yes, I absolutely agree if he had a voice. I might have said a little too much. No matter. It's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Ah! He's getting away! Get after him, lads! Whistle the beat officer, too. Sir! There's been a spate of thefts at pawn shops around here recently. So we've fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. The potato bouquet, right? The man's hungry, just let him eat. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in mourning. Oh, yes? I'll be taking that, whatever it is, of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't! Don't give it to him! It's mine! That is, mine! Hey, yo. I want some taters. But anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. And so, we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to the inspector. And we're summarily turfed out of the shop and onto the street. To be continued. April 15th, Baker Street. See? That's why I ate grown-ups. All they do is feed you a pack of lies and take stuff away from you. You want poutine? Poutine is good. Oh really, Miss Lestrade? Tell me, is that overcoat keeping you warm? What? Oh my. Surely you were given that. Yeah. The D let me keep it, after I looked daggers at him for long enough. He went through the pockets and said, "Go on, have it before telling me to scarper." Always pays off, giving people a look you ate 'em. I can't help feeling that it's going to get you into some serious trouble one day. What I really wanted was that nice shiny disc, mind. The music box? But Mr. Windibank said it was practically worthless. I think I'm gonna go and have another bash give him a long hard stare. I think not, Miss Lestrade. We shan't enter Winterbanks again today. Why not? That's not fair. It can't be helped, I'm afraid. The police are investigating the scene now and taking a statement from Mr. Winterbank. But that disc's mine. I had the ticket for this coat, and it was in the coat's pocket. And there should be something else. And all that. That's what Rotten Cough said, ain't it? Yes, he did mention something about another article, didn't he? Well then. That's mine too, whatever it is. Now she's really pushing her luck. Miss Lestrade, I think it's time to admit defeat. You've had your haul for the day. Yeah, and it's all your fault, Sholmes. So what are your plans now? Will you dine with us this evening? Eh? Eris would be delighted to cook, I'm sure. And I might entertain you with a modest violin recital. Nota. Oh. Why would I come round your place, eh? Have you lost your head or something? Well, there she goes. Oh dear. She's gone. Having reviled on me quite unnecessarily, I might add. I can't help wondering if perhaps she might turn up anyway. Interesting. Once she's had a chance to calm down, I think there's a good chance she'll decide to come. Very well then. I'll inform Iris to set a place for our potential guests at the dinner table this evening. And one more thing. I should be glad of your company later, too. Sorry? Yes, it certainly is. I believe I will have a rather splendid surprise to show you. Oh, how exciting! What is it? You shall have to wait and see, Mrs. Otto. Until then... Uncle... Right, back to Sholmes. Ah! Susie! Come in! Good afternoon, Iris. Thank you so much for breakfast this morning. Oh, don't mention it. Goodness, look at the time already. Busy as always? I am. I'm preparing everything for dinner this evening. Already? You're obviously cooking something special, are you? Oh, yes. After all, we have a special guest joining us. Guess who it is? Go on. You'll never guess. Look at those little eyes of hers shining. Oh dear. It is awkward when you already know the answer, isn't it? It's Ginny! Isn't that exciting? Oh, what a surprise! Yes, that's wonderful news. Wow. Iris seems overjoyed at the idea. I can't wait to learn some pickpocketing tips from a real professional. Oh yes, that does sound like fun. I'm not sure that's entirely appropriate. Are you, Mr. Naruhodo? By the way, Iris, What's Mr. Sholmes up to? Sulking at his desk. Hurley? Oh, he's been like that ever since he got back. Hello? Mr. Sholmes? I beg that you won't speak to me. See? What'd I tell you? He's sulking. I'm sorry. I don't know who you are, but kindly take your leave. As you can see, I'm not here. Okay. I don't know how to respond to that. I do apologize. When he gets like this, he's completely oblivious to everything. Yes, I see. Really, he behaves just like a child sometimes. Hurley does. Mr. Sholmes and Iris have something of a parent and child relationship, don't they? Yes, except that Iris is clearly the parent here. Come to think of it, I wonder where her real parents are. What's the matter, Bruno? You have ever such a funny look on your face. Oh no, it's nothing. I know what it is. Why does this girl live here with Mr. Sholmes? You're wondering? Am I right? How did you know? Oh, Bruno, I can read you like a book. Ugh, this girl is dangerous. Don't worry. You can ask me anything. I won't mind. So, by Ginny you mean Miss Lestrade, the young woman from the McGilded case 2 months ago, right? Yes. Who also stole my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Although, after that trial, I invited her back here. When we had dinner together. And now we're the best of friends. Oh. What a lovely tale. Yes, now if I bump into her on the street, she runs away as fast as she can. Oh. And I chase after her down the back alleyways. Interesting idea of friendship. And then I let her have the latest color of smoke grenade I've developed. Oh. There are so many beautiful colors in the world. Ginny wants me to make a whole rainbow. I suppose this means you've let Miss Lestrade keep the smoke grenade launcher, have you? Yes, that's right. I'd got bored of it anyway. Hurley always reacts the same when I shoot him with it now. Poor Hurley. Oh, I can't wait for Ginny to arrive. It's been too long since she last came over. I'm so excited. I just hope she actually does come. I'm sure you've been wondering why it is that I live here with Hurley, haven't you? Well, it has crossed my mind. That and where are your real parents? My mommy and daddy aren't with me anymore. Oh boy. Mommy passed away when I was born. And at around the same time, my father... Well, he had to go to a faraway land because one of the cases he and Hurley were working on. Oh. Wait a minute. Did you say he and Hurley? Yes. Daddy and Hurley were always solving mysterious cases together. She didn't mention that before. Oh, it goes places, Smiley. This game goes places. He wrote them all up in his diaries. That's what's in the metal chest over there. Really? He recorded them all? So, you mean it's true, Mr. Sholmes? Really did have a partner with whom he tackled some of his most taxing cases? Oh, yes. I mean, it's always nice to have one, isn't it? So, Mr. Sholmes' partner was your father. Exactly. Hurley told me I wasn't allowed to look in the chest. But that only made me want to look even more. So I opened it up. And found your father's memoirs? Yes. So I asked Hurley, who wrote these? He nearly fell off his chair. But then he told me that's when I found out that the author of all those accounts was my father. So Iris's father was Mr. Sholmes' partner. I've practically lived with Hurley all my life. I was tiny when he took me in. So it came as quite a shock when Hurley told me he wasn't really my daddy. I mean, it must have done. I wonder why Mr. Sholmes chose to tell you at such a young age. Hurley says it's because he wouldn't have been able to hide it from me. Oh? Well, having lived with Hurley all these years, you might say that his ways have rubbed off on me. There are some things I can just see. Especially lies. I almost know when people are lying before they open their mouths sometimes. Right. Anyway, I was so fascinated when I read Daddy's diaries. That's what inspired me to write The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, actually. I'd always assumed Mr. Sholmes simply told you all these thrilling stories. Oh no, Hurley's hopeless like that. He forgets everything as soon as he's solved a case. It all but vanishes from his mind. Oh, I see. The other day, it was so embarrassing. As usual, he totally forgot about the case he just solved. So, the very next day, he gathered together all the people involved and proceeded to solve the case again. It was quite a shock for everyone. You can say that again. You share your father's surname, don't you, Iris? That's right, Wilson. Daddy is Dr. John H. Wilson. I learnt from his diaries that he's a doctor of medicine, you see. Wait a second. That's what prompted me to study and study so that I could earn a doctorate as well. So her father... Spoilers if you're going back to like one of the first few episodes that we did. Her father was the guy that got killed in the restaurant. One of the first few cases and trials that we solved. Iris' father, who went to some distant land, and is a doctor by the name of John H. Wilson. He didn't order the beefsteak because of dentistry. Exactly, yes. The court will now hear the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Back when we were accused of murdering him. Kindly state before the court the name of the victim in this case. The victim's name was Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right. visiting professor of medicine at Imperial Yume University. And the man who was in the most bizarre of circumstances lost his life just before we left Japan. Miss Sato. Yes? Perhaps we shouldn't pursue this conversation any further at this time. I think that would be for the best. So we actually met Iris's father in the beginning. My dear fellows, how good to see you. Thanks, Mr. Sholmes, for coming out of your sulking chair. Mr. Sholmes! Why ever did you not make your presence known to me before? We did. Well, no matter now. So, how the devil are you? We've been with you for most of the day. Goodness, really? For a bright-eyed detective, he's not very bright today, is he? Do tell me, Mr. Sholmes, is your violin unscathed? My violin? Whatever are you talking about, dear madam? Oh, never mind that now. I have something far more interesting to show you. Behold, my dear fellows. Oh, another music box disc? No, not another disc, Miss Susato. This is the one Gregson demanded we hand over, as evidence. Oh my. Then, what's it doing here? You know, at times, Mr. Naruhodo, I think that though I have an undeniable turn for detection, I may well be even more adept at larceny. Oh boy. Oh, that would be wonderfully exciting. I'd be your pickpocketing assistant. And Runo could be our go-to lawyer if we ever got caught. Right. Plus, Susie has such beautiful handwriting. She could write all our menacing crime notifications. Yes, I'd be delighted. Oh boy. That's not what you're supposed to say, Susato. I'm just going to pretend this conversation never happened, I think. I don't understand. How did that disc come to be in your possession? I thought Inspector Gregson took it back to Scotland Yard. Quite correct. Yeah, that's true, Smiley. That is very true. And that sort of uncompromising attitude is precisely why I always carry some of this. That's a bar of caramel, Mr. Sholmes. Your one and only friend in times of loneliness, if I'm not mistaken. If you will humor me, my dear fellows, cast your minds back to when the good detective confiscated the disc. I'll be taking that whatever it is McGilded's down to the yard. Thank you very much. So hand it over. If the police demand something as evidence, my dear, we have no choice but to capitulate. My words. It's all yours, Inspector. For the briefest of moments, I had the disc in my hand. Yes, you did, but I still don't understand. It was at precisely that moment that I summoned my one and only friend into action. I pressed the disc into a pair of bars like this. That's amazing. The disc and all the minuscule protrusions have made an image in the caramel. Indeed, this caramel is quite exceptional. I developed it myself, you know. Suitably soft for making impressions, but resistant to melting. The result of a precisely controlled solution. How extraordinary! Carrying a pair of these on one's person frequently proves very useful indeed. Take a house key, for example. A simple press and its unique form is duplicated. I can enter anyone's property at will, and never without high sucrose nourishment. Yes, it sounds illegal. From the image, I was able to create this. I confess I was most curious to know what manner of music would issue from the disc when played. Do tell us then, Mr. Sholmes, what music does the disc play? Well, unfortunately, I have no idea. No idea? None whatsoever. Are you familiar with the workings of a music box, my dear fellows? No, I'm afraid not. Goodness, you don't know? Inside a music box, there's a special metal piece called a comb. That's what produces the sound. Small protuberances pluck the different teeth of the comb as they rotate past it, making the different notes. The first music boxes to be invented used a rotating cylinder with protuberances on it. Good morning! But over time, a new type of player was produced which uses discs such as these. With that development, the popularity of music boxes spread far and wide all around the globe. Why exactly? Because all of the discs are easy to produce and can be interchanged to facilitate the playing of different tunes. There are a great many firms in Europe now manufacturing music boxes as a result. It is wonderful to be able to enjoy music even when no performer is present. But it is the very success of the invention that means we are now presented with an insurmountable problem. What do you mean? As you may imagine, the construction of one's firm's music box does not match that of another. And we have no way of knowing in which music box this particular disc was designed to be played. There is no resolution to this problem, I'm afraid. What do you mean, flashing white? Oh, I don't know. It just does that. Ah, I see. So that's why. Naturally, I tested the disc in those few music boxes I have at my disposal. But as you can hear, to no avail. The results were equally unsatisfactory in this one. So, I am presently engaged in acquiring an example of all of the music boxes ever made in Europe. Mr. Sholmes, you have a long way to go. Every single one? That's Hurley for you. Always taking things too far. But my dear girl, an unsolved riddle is quite repugnant to my constitution. But surely all the different types in Europe will amount to a huge volume of music boxes, won't it? Yes. That is certainly true. In the worst case, I shall just have to ask you to vacate the attic room. So he's kicking us out? Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear again so soon. Yes, it's only been 2 months since that grisly case. Mr. McGilded perished within hours of the trial's conclusion. Was it the curse of the Reaper? No one knows. Still now. The omnibus was reduced to a pile of ash. Not a shred of evidence remained. Huh. And with the man's death, the truth about the murder in which he was so intimately involved was buried. Even though we successfully established Mr. McGilded's innocence in the trial, the newspapers are still claiming that it remains an unsolved case. The murder of the brickmaker, the thrice-fired mason. In the end, the truth of the matter remains a mystery. We still have no idea what really happened that night. And although Mr. McGilded was found not guilty through my defense, I still don't know if that was the right judgment or not. It would appear the case is not yet closed. Well, it's time I started getting things ready for dinner, I think. Ginny will be here before long. Thank you, Iris. Oh, well, you must let me help you then. Of course, Susie. There's plenty to do. I think I shall investigate the condition of my faithful performing partner. Now then, where did I leave it? This be a lesson to you, Mr. Sholmes. Never leave anything too precious with the pawnbroker. Yes, you may be right. Oh, that reminds me. Mr. Windibank said before. He said that he had a manuscript of Iris's in pawn, didn't he? Did he? Yes, he definitely mentioned it. Mr. Sholmes' latest tale, Otherworldly Mysteries, lies dormant in my storeroom, were his words, I believe. So, you heard about that, did you? I expect you were incensed as I was. Oh, yes! The idea of such a wonderful story languishing in Mr. Windibank's storeroom gathering dust. My dear madam, I'm quite sure I told you already. The pawnbroker's storeroom is the safest place for it. More secure than a bank's vault. And what about your Stradivarius, Hurley? Was that safe and secure? Well, there may be the occasional mix-up. Caused by a certain impetuous someone, not too far from me now. Do you have any idea how long it took me to write that Baskervilles story, Hurley? Oh, it sounds so exciting, The Hound of Baskervilles. I should love to read it. Did I say something wrong? What's going on here? Why does it feel like an icy chill just swept through the room? Susie, what did you just say? You said the Hound of Baskervilles? But how could you know the full title? Well, that's because Mrs. Otto is such a great fan of all the stories about Mr. Sholmes, of course. But Bruno, the Hound of Baskervilles, has never been published. What? When I showed Hurley the manuscript, he told me that I wasn't allowed to publish it yet. I don't understand. That's why he said he'd keep it safe. Until it was the right time for the story to be made public, you see. So that's why the manuscript is at Windibanks. And yet, how could Susie here know its title? Well, Hurley, what's going on? What is it, Mr. Sholmes? It would appear our guest has arrived. Miss Lestrade. This was a bad idea. I knew I weren't welcome. I'm going. Just like that, she's gone. No, wait, Miss Lestrade. We've all been eagerly awaiting your arrival. Haven't we, Iris? Oh, yes. Just wait there, Ginny. We'll have everything ready in a jiffy. Come along, Susie. Right, of course. It's a pleasure to see you here, Miss Lestrade. Please make yourself at home. Don't stand in the doorway, my dear girl. Come along in. What say you to some Mendelssohn? I won't take no for an answer. Meddlesome it is, then. Kitty! Meow! That evening, Iris prepared us all a meal that was even more delicious than usual. Mr. Sholmes' violin performance was in no way meddlesome. And Gina, as we all came to call her, taught us all how to steal things from one another without being noticed. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed themselves well into the night. That was a very enjoyable evening, wasn't it? Oh yes. Iris's cooking was truly divine. And I feel as though I can still hear the enchanting strains of Mr. Sholmes' violin even now. Best of all, I bet I could steal the glasses from his lordship's face next time we're in court. I don't think you want to do that, Susato. Haruhodo-san, could I consult with you about something? I wonder... What's the matter, Susato? It's about the telegram I received. The one that arrived first thing this morning, I suppose. I've been summoned. What? Summoned? What do you mean? The telegram was from the Lord Chief Justice's offices. Lord Strongheart has asked to see me. The Lord Chief Justice? When? Tomorrow morning. What? Then we have to start preparing at once. Oh, no, that won't be necessary, Naruhodo. I've been summoned alone. Alone? What on earth for? I have no idea. I suppose I shall find out tomorrow. What's all this about? Whatever it is, it's making me feel very uneasy. Who's there? Oh, who could that be? Good evening, friends! Iris, hello again. And Gina too. Yes, Ginny's going to stay with us tonight. She's going to sleep in with me. Isn't that right, Ginny? Well, yeah. How lovely. Let me make a pot of tea. You know, I've learned so much today. Oh, what in particular? All those things Ginny showed us? Wasn't it wonderful? You mean all those pickpocketing techniques? We had fun trying them out on each other, didn't we? I think I've awakened a natural talent. I could earn a living from it. You might be getting ahead of yourself a little there. So, what brings you up to our humble quarters at this late hour? Well, you see, I came to return this. Wait, what? That's mine! Oh my. However did you... I told you, didn't I? I have a natural talent for it. Oh yes, I'd forgotten. Iris literally is a child genius. So, anyway, here. You can have it back. Not that I really understand why you wear it, though. Thank you. Alright then. Good night. Yes. Good night. So this is your office, is it? What do you think, Ginny? I think I wouldn't fancy me chances with a lawyer. What lives in a place like this? Yes, me too! Seems as though Iris here still has something she'd like to talk about. I suppose she probably wants to talk about the manuscript. Yes, I suppose she probably does.